Good evening, everyone. Welcome to J B Boda Academy. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. We are very pleased welcoming our friends not only from India, but also from US, UK, Europe, Germany, Africa, Caribbean, UAE, Asian subcontinent, Singapore, Philippines. Now that we are good welcoming our friends, before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who generously helped us making this event a big success. We couldn't have done this without you. We have with us today esteemed speaker, Mr. Nitin Vyakaranam, founder and CEO of ArthaYantra. It's a privilege to have him here with us. Thank you, Nitin, for honoring our invitation. Nitin Vyakaranam is a founder and CEO of ArthaYantra, the world's only full-service Robo Advisory firm. He has leveraged his global experience and expertise in finance and technology to build Arthos, ArthaYantra's proprietary online financial advisory product for retail customers. Built on the pillars of artificial intelligence, statistics, modeling, behavioral finance, econometrics, and modern finance, Arthos reimagines the financial advisory industry in India. Nitin is passionate about making a positive impact in the lives of retail customers who lack access to quality financial advice. From being a red herring global top 100 winner 2015 to being selected as a cool vendor 2016 by Gartner, ArthaYantra currently has over 200,000 plus registered users from 700 plus locations in the country. That's amazing. Apart from 30 other countries in just little over 5 years. Nitin has done his PGDM in Analytical Finance and Leadership from Indian School of Business and also holds an MS degree in Electrical Engineering from Northern Illinois University. We are very fortunate to have you, Nitin, with us here. Over to you, Nitin. Along with Nitin, sorry to mention this, we have Nitin's colleague also on the panel, Dave and Vittal, who have joined us here today. Please note, you can raise the questions using the chat mode section. We will try and answer as many questions possible. This topic is very personal and very critical for all of us, championing financial wellness for you and for your family. Raise as many questions you can, ask as many doubts you can, and we'll try to solve all of them today. If not today, we will resend all those answers back to you over the email. Over to you, Nitin. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Aruna. Thanks for having me here. Aruna, do you want to give a few more minutes for people to join in, or we can just start off immediately?
We are good to go, Nitin. We can start off.
Okay, fantastic. So thanks everyone for joining us. Today we are going to discuss about something which we deal with on a daily basis, our own financial wellness. And the idea is to really, understand if we can actually, look at our financial wellness holistically and improve it, and also look at it from a workplace perspective. There are two topics that we'll cover today. One is financial wellness of you and your family. The second one is the financial wellness at workplace. And we will, the first part of this discussion will be on how we should actually look at financial wellness of you and your family. And then we would dovetail that into how financial wellness works at workplace and why it is important to look at financial wellness in workplace. That said, let's actually start with your family, right? Financial wellness of you and your family, right? So everyone can see this slide here. So this is like a map, right? It's our financial life, right? We start out very young as individual single folks, and then we traverse this financial life, end up with retirement, right? And during this, we have multiple milestones that all of us go through, and each one may have milestones which are different from others, but majority of those milestones are also kind of known to us, right? And across this path, right, you have multiple financial decisions that we make, right? And it covers almost every kind of product. For example, it could be insurance related, it could be expense related, it should be tax related, which we actually do on a yearly basis, right? So when all of us are when we think about ourselves, and the question in your mind could be, where do I stand here, right? You are somewhere on this map. All of us are somewhere on this map, right? So to have a great life, for us to have a great journey on this financial life map, we actually have to be financially fit. If we are financially fit, we'll have a journey which is really good, enriching, and without many problems. But if you are not financially fit, this financial life journey that you see in front of you could be really tough, right? Now, let me just take just tell you a small story about John and Doe, right? John and Doe, they have 2 kids. So where do they stand on this financial life journey that you see? They actually are somewhere here. You can see it between get married, flagpole, and owning a home, flagpole, right? So at that stage in life, when they look forward in life, they actually have a lot of questions and worries, right? And let's actually look at some of those questions and worries. When we talk about questions and worries, each one of us, even in a marriage, you will have the husband and wife actually thinking about worries in a very different way. The husband, in this case, John works, Doe actually stays home. And John is typically worried about, what would I do if I lose my job, right? Then while he thinks about that, he sees a car zooming past him, and at the same time, John will think that, why can't I buy that car? We could go on long drives, right? Then, he's talking to his friends, and he comes across a case where one of his friend has fallen sick. John puts himself in the shoe and says, hey, what happens if the same thing happens to me, if there is a shock in my family? Then within a second, he kind of, reassures himself that nothing will happen. While on the other hand, Doe is comparing and talking to her neighbor whose children are supposedly going to a quote-unquote better school. But the question that she has is, can we afford to send our children to those schools? Or in this COVID situation right now, a lot of online classes on music or painting. Shouldn't we send our children to those classes? Or she's worried if we have been living in a rented house for a long time, shouldn't we buy a home, right? And if you look at these worries, there will be some of the worries which are common between those two. But each of us actually project our worries in different ways, and mostly they are all about our family. What is common about all those worries? They all deal with money and finance. Most of our worries as individuals or family members, right, center always around finance. And if you look at where John and Doe are in their financial life, they are in the middle of their life. They have the children to take care of, their future to take care of. The biggest concern always will be money and finance, right? If John and Doe are well-to-do, have a great financial life, are financially fit, they will breeze through those. They will buy the home, they'll send their kids to the best school in town, they'll make all those financial decisions very, very easily. But majority of the world that we live in is not financially fit. We actually have very limited resources. So we have to make sacrifices. So when we have limited resources, what happens? We make sacrifices. So we have to give up on some of those dreams. Joe has to decide that, hey, maybe I should not buy that car right now, right? Or John, so Doe will say that, what, we can wait for one more year before we decide on sending our kids to that school. Or, buying a home can be pushed for 3 more years. We all make those sacrifices because we have limited resources and we have to prioritize what is important for us. And most probably when you are in that stage where, say, John and Doe are in your life, children, their education, their future becomes very important, and everything actually becomes secondary. When you are a single, which is at the starting of the journey, your priorities are different. When you are close to retirement, your priorities are different. However, all those times, whichever place you pick up in this journey, or whichever place you think you are there on this journey, right? It's very important to understand that financial fitness is the key for you to have a smooth journey, right? With this, I want you to ask yourself, right? And we'll also have a poll here, the first poll. I want you to ask yourself, are you financially fit to succeed in your financial journey, right? Are you financially fit to succeed in your financial journey? This is going to be the first poll. Aruna, if you can pull up the poll, right? What we would like you to do is to give yourself a score, which is between 0 and 1,000, 0 being very critical financial fitness levels, 1,000 being the best possible financial fitness levels. We would like you to answer this. Think about where you stand and answer these questions, please. We'll give you a minute to answer these questions.
We need few more votes. Please, anybody who's not answered, can you please answer the poll?
So Aruna, can we move forward? I think we are at 74%. We can close the poll. And as everyone can see, Aruna, can you, these results can be seen by everyone, right?
Can I share the result?
Yes, please. So all of you are seeing the results of the poll. It's a normal curve with most of you actually thinking that you fall between 450 and 600. The next highest is 350 to 450, then 600 to 800. Few people, 10% of them, of you thought that you were greater than 800, and 6% actually thought that you were from 0 to 350, right? Now, can you just, we can move to the next slide, Aruna, if you can remove the poll results. Right. Now, so you all have a sense of what your fitness level is, right? But do you think that's right? Do you know where you stand? What do you think is a problem, right, when it comes to financial wellness in India? Right? So we did our own research, right? And what we discovered was that in India, majority of the people are not financially fit, and that's more than 95%. ArthaYantra has a proprietary patent pending score called ArthaYantra Financial Health Score that actually scores on 0 to 1,000. And India average is about 354. This is organized sector working employees in blue-collar, white-collar jobs across India. This score is an average of about 3,000 employees across India. So the big problem that we have is that we all have aspirations of financial life, right? Yet, we all generally have a problem with our financial fitness. We are not fit enough to actually have a breeze through our financial life. And the idea of really financial wellness is to identify these problems and then try to solve those problems. Help the employees, help the customers, right? Identify why they are not financially fit and then try to help them solve those problems. Now, you may ask me, what does 354 mean, right? Here's a sample. So while India averages 354, at the bottom you can see a graded scale. Anything less than 350 is critical financial wellness. 350 to 450 is below average financial wellness. 450 to 600 is average financial wellness. 600 and above is good and then excellent, right? And each of the score means something, and it means something very specific and actionable for each customer. And these are just samples that I'm quoting here. For average score of 354, could be someone who has very limited ability to meet emergency requirements. He has, on an average, 6 goals, but can only reach one of them, right? Doesn't save or invest in the right places. Very expensive way of living life. So his expenses are higher when compared to income. So if you look at it, it covers really multiple things in life. It's not only investment, not only saving, it's not only insurance, but a holistic view of your personal life to understand how your fitness is. On the same level, if you look at the other score that is there, 650, most probably, this is again a sample where this person could be, he's adequately covered from an insurance perspective. So risk management is better, right? On track to achieve not 1, but maybe 4 out of his 5 goals, right? Stable investments, looking at controlling expenses, right? One of the things that COVID has done, right, now is, and I hear this a lot, is previously behavioral finance scientists used to really struggle to help a regular customer to understand what is a need, what is a want. but now almost everyone actually talks about it. One of the biggest things that we have seen change in COVID is that people have cut down on their expenses. The expenses have been cut down, and suddenly they are realizing that their needs are actually much more smaller than their wants, and they can actually manage their financial life better if they understand the difference, right? So the ability of this whole score is to identify the problems that a person may have, a person and their family may have in their entire financial life. And once you start fixing those problems, your financial health improves. The next question that you might have is, look, why should I look at everything in my life, right? Why should this score not just limit itself to some parts of my life? Because when it comes to money, it works very differently, right? This slide actually really shows you what's the difference between how financial services industry works and how we take financial decisions and how real life works. On the left side, we have our traditional financial decision-making process. You have a question on tax, you go to one person. You have a question on insurance, you go to another person. You have a question on investments, you go to another person, right? Siloed people, they don't talk to each other. They live in different islands, right? Now, does real life work like that? No, real life is interconnected. In real life, you have, for example, let's see on the right side, you see interconnected real life. If there is an impact on income, loss of jobs, so income stops. Does it impact everything else? It impacts investments, it impacts your goals, it impacts your taxation, it impacts your insurance. One thing in one part of your life impacts something else almost everywhere in your life. Or for example, you one day decide that you have a customer, you have an individual whose salary is 1 lakh rupees per month, and he or she decides to spend 75,000 rupees on buying a phone. It's going to impact other parts of the life. It will impact the goals. It will impact the investments because he doesn't have enough money left. The money has been spent, right? So one of the most important things that we have to realize is when it comes to financial fitness and wellness is that everything in our life is interconnected. We have limited resources, and we cannot actually afford to make too many mistakes with those resources because they impact everything else in our life. Right. So till now, what have we gone through? We've seen the financial journey. We have realized that to have a good financial journey, we should be financially fit. If you're not financially fit, it's going to be very difficult for us to have a great journey, right? And when we talk about financial fitness, it has to be everything in our personal financial life. It cannot be only one part of it or two parts of it. Right? It's a continuous math function. It's not a discrete math function. So having learned these three primary things about financial wellness, is there a framework that can help us really, cross this chasm, right? So let's talk about the framework. Let's talk it, and it's a very simple understanding, and most of us really know it, but we don't apply it. Our parents have known it for a long time. But let me just take you through the framework that we use at ArthaYantra, and we find it very, very interesting and rewarding from a financial wellness perspective. It helps improve the financial wellness, dramatically. On the left side, on the top, and I have my arrow there, are the resources, right? So all of us actually have resources. We have an income. What are resources? What's your income? What are your expenses? What are your assets? What are your liabilities, right? How much do you earn? What is left after you spend, right? Spend on all your expenses. And what do you do with that? Do you build assets? Do you have a home? Have you taken a loan for that? One of the most important things that we find people don't understand is that if we ask them, okay, put everything that you have, all your resources on a single page, it's very difficult for people to write specifics. They know it only at a very high level. So why are resources important? Because whatever you have are these four things: income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. You have to use these resources, whichever way they are, to cross the chasm and reach your goals, your milestones. Whether it be retirement, whether it be buying a home or a car, or sending this child to the best school in town, right? The only way you can reach them is through these resources. There is no other way for you to make money, right? And how do you cross this chasm? So you have your resources, optimize those resources. You should know what you want, why you want them, and how much you're willing to spend for that, right? But how do you cross this gap between resources and what you want? That's where you build a financial pyramid, right? And at the bottom of the pyramid is risk management, right? One of the most understood term, right? Risk management is very simple. Nothing but knowing the products that to buy, or the steps to take in case things don't go as you planned. Things like life insurance, health insurance, creating of an emergency fund. And we are in one such situation with COVID, right? And here I really like to use this terminology, which is very common in corporates, right? Something called as BCPDR, business continuity planning and disaster recovery planning, right? Almost every one of you is working from home, and you are working from home because your company had a plan, right, when things were good, to ensure that if things go wrong, all of you can still continue to work and be productive. It was called BCPDR, right? When your company is able to plan for those risks, for the BCPDR, the question you have to ask yourself is, do you have a BCPDR for your family? Have you thought of a disaster recovery plan for your family? If something goes wrong, what should you be doing? Normally, we just don't think that, because we always think nothing will go wrong, right? So risk management is the first thing that we expect you to do. Build that foundation. Then you talk about savings, investment, capital protection, capital growth, capital multiplication, right? And that's how you get to your goals. Use your resources, build a plan to really execute and use those resources efficiently to get to where you want to do. It's very simple that way. But if you look at the number of things that are involved here, it can become quite complex. And financial life of an individual is complex. It's very important for us to realize that and then prepare for it. Okay. Now, I will actually like to talk about how it's a continuous process. So it's a 5-step process, right? Number 1, know your resources. Number 2, have clarity on your goals and aspirations. Number 3, prepare for emergency. Number 4, risk management. Number 5, get your long-term investment savings in the right place. But this is a continuous process. It's not a one-time process, right? In life, we actually have multiple things that happen. A single guy reaches 28 or 29, gets married. There's almost a reset in life because your aspirations, goals completely change, right? Life is dynamic. It's not a one-time process. It's not about doing one thing one time. It's about doing multiple things continuously. That's how you get to financial wellness. And a great example is the gym, right? All of us have this aspiration of having, fit bodies and being, having 6 packs. Assume one of us actually got it right, went through all the pain, and became very fit. But after that, he just stopped going to the gym. 6 months, what will happen? Body will again go back to where it was. Financial wellness is no different. You have to continuously work on it every day of the year, continuously, right? This is a good time where we actually can understand a bit about your financial decision thought making process. Can we have the poll too, or Aruna? No? So this question is about how you take your financial decisions. Aruna, we can stop and publish the results and move to the next slide. So this shows something very interesting, right? It shows that most of you think that you actually look at all aspects when you are taking personal finance decisions, and 26% of the people say that they don't do that. In fact, we have a research that says that when we take financial decisions, less than 5% of the people look at everything. We are not used to look at all aspects of personal finance when we take financial decisions, because we don't have the information, we don't have the right people helping us with that information. It's not easy, and in fact, the way we take our decisions, who help with our financial decisions, all of those matter in taking a scientific financial decision forward, right? And I would like to give you an example here. So we had this customer who was a PhD in biology, very senior person, and he had 52 insurance policies and he was still underinsured. Till the point that he met us, he always thought that he was actually considering everything and taking personal financial decisions. But at 52 policies, he was actually very close to bankruptcy. He didn't realize that, right? So what we wanted to really show through this result, and we can remove this, Aruna, is, a lot of times we presume that we are taking everything into consideration, all the tick boxes are checked, but they are not in reality. So it's very important to double check, do it slow, but ensure that you're taking the right decision, going through the right scientific process, right? Can we remove this? So I'll just, right now, you understood the construct of financial wellness, hopefully now. So what do we do at ArthaYantra, right? We basically help you build that financial life completely online. We help you identify your financial health score, right? Then give you recommendations on how to improve the score. Then help you implement that score, right? And then continuously improve the score. We are like your Google map. We'll ensure that you are going through this journey in the right way. And success is dependent only on your fitness levels, how fit you are financially. If you're not fit financially, your kids will not go to the best schools in town. If you're fit financially, they will go to the best schools in town. If you're fit financially, you will have the best possible homes in town, right? You will not have to make compromises. That's what the entire financial life is based on. This is completely automated. We go through about trillion different options, to power 40 options, to give you the right scientific recommendation, which is actionable and which is personalized for you and your family, right? So how does this work? It works in a way where you can handle everything, right? It's a 5-step process. Step 1, you come in, onboard onto the platform, right? Your information is pulled from various sources and recommendations are given within seconds. You can then talk to an advisor on phone whose job is to explain the recommendations to you. Step 3 is to buy the recommended products or implement the recommendations. It's not always buy. For example, you don't have your risk management, you are adequately insured. And it will tell you, look, you're doing very well in insurance, so keep that up, right? Or in the case of this guy with 52 insurance policies, the recommendation was to sell 30 policies and just free up cash flow. And step 4, we track all the decisions and compare it with the recommendations, right? If you have been recommended 10 things to do and if you've done 2 things, the platform will know that you have still missed 8 of your steps. And it will tell you, what that impact would be. Step 5, there are 2 interventions. One is called a review, where life is dynamic, it changes. So the customer actually can come online, for example, every 6 months for a review, to review everything in your financial life. Or if some changes happen, a baby got added to your family, or you lost a job, come back to the platform, say, look, I lost my job. What should I do? Right? I'm sure some of you had to go through that, the pain of losing a job, right? And you, I don't know, typically you would go back to your family and friends and talk to them and ask them that question, but you typically don't get a scientific answer there, right? So the platform will actually make changes to the recommendation depending on your specific issue and gives you personalized recommendations. In the middle, you also see a screen, right, where you're seeing numbers 549, 569, 637. What the platform does is that's your health score that's moving. It tracks your health score, whether it's moving upwards or downwards, and then tells you what to do to improve it very, very specifically, right? While this is what we do, it's also time for a poll 3, right? Aruna, can you pull up the poll 3? How do you make your financial decisions? Can you answer this quickly, and then we can go to the next one. I think it's stabilized here. We have 96 responses, 98. Can we get 100? Yeah, we have 100 responses. Aruna, we can stop it. Yeah. And but if you're viewing these results, again, a fascinating behavioral economics experiment here. Over 98% of our financial decisions are made only with 2 of those people listed there, family and friends. And majority of those decisions are wrong. In fact, very few of us go to experts. While I see 39% of us, saying that we go to experts, and maybe the sample has those people. But the interesting data for you is not necessarily this data, but an overall sample of India or anywhere in the world, whether it's US or some other countries, right? We normally do not go to experts. First people we go to is friends, then family, then it's friends. All the tea room talks are about money and how to take care of money. Some of us, in fact, that has been an interesting change in the last decade, go to internet and spend a lot of time searching to solve the question, for the question that you have. Very few of us actually go to experts. And typically in the below the HNI segment, which is the upper middle class, lower middle class segment, the hit rates when it comes to financial wellness is less than 2%. Right? So again, a very important question. We want you to get thinking about who you talk to. This question is not just about today, but it's also when tomorrow you have to make a financial decision. Just remember this question. It will really keep you in good stead when it comes to choosing and selecting what to do. Right? Now, with this, we've completed the first section, which is financial wellness for you and your family. This is a very small primer. Financial wellness is very deep, complex, and we spend actually a lot of time in helping customers understand what it is. But since we are covering 2 topics, we are going to jump onto the financial wellness of in corporates topic. But naturally, the question that might come to you is, why should financial wellness be in corporates? Why should people not manage their financial wellness on their own? Because of 3 reasons. Number 1, the most important reason, most of the retail customers, middle class, upper middle class, low middle class customers, for them, the most important resource is their income, which comes from salaries. Second, majority of their time in the productive years is spent in the office. Third, majority of the discussions that also happen in the office. So from an employee perspective, it's a no-brainer that they would like someone to help them with financial wellness in office. But what is in it for the corporates? Why should the corporates actually do this, right? Let's actually start with that, right? And I'll start with the wellness pyramid or wellness pillars, right? Corporates and the teams in human resources and employee benefits speak of employee wellness, and largely employee wellness has been around physical, emotional, and to some extent spiritual. But one of the most important pillars and the fastest growing pillar in the employee benefit is financial wellness. And the reason it is so is that if your financial wellness is not good, no amount of yoga or physical fitness will help you, because financial wellness really pulls a person and a family down and increases the stress. What is the proof? Here is the proof, right? We actually, we do our own primary research and look at research globally. One of the most interesting things that we found is that, financial stress, when we talk about stress a lot, but financial stress inside organizations is a hidden epidemic. It's not captured in a P&L. It doesn't, is not part of your balance sheet, right? But it impacts you, right? How, right? Let's look at some of the data. I'll just pick some of the data and talk to you. So 73% of the employees, this is a PwC Bank of America survey, 73% of the employees actually surveyed had stress due to finances. That is 3 out of 4 employees, right? Number one. Number two, 45% of them, the stress has increased in the last 12 months. So it's a continuous process. Interestingly, if you also look at it from productivity, 46% of the employees spend 3 to 4 hours a week, which is about 20 days, 20 full days in a year, in the office, taking care of personal finance. 1 full month of productivity only to take care of personal finance. And these numbers are very similar to the numbers we have in our Indian research, right? So what does it mean? Companies are losing money. They are just not able to capture it anywhere, right? While we looked at all this research, when we did our own research, we went in deeper, trying to understand what that 354 means, right? And when we went in deeper, right, what we found was very interesting. 58% of organized sector employees cannot meet their monthly household expenses each month. 70% of them cannot meet basic expense if they are out of work for 6 months. So if we give a pink slip to an associate, they are actually not in a position to really survive for more than 6 months. Right? 69% of them want to save for retirement. They just don't know how to do it. 54% of them have stress levels, right, on outstanding loans. 86% of the employees want some kind of help in the office when it comes to personal finance. Now combine all of this together with what you heard in the first piece of this discussion, where we talked about your financial health, your financial fitness, ability of that to really determine how you live your financial life. And then look at all this data, which is a breakup of all of that, and the stress levels that exist in employees. It's a very scary situation. Stop and go for a poll number 4. Rona, can you pull up the poll number 4? So this is mostly for the HR and employee benefit teams. If you're not from the team, you can just you can still answer it. Your perception is very important. So Aruna, we can actually stop here. We can share the results. So again, interesting poll. While majority, 41% of you said no, 27% said yes, and 32% said maybe. Right. When we started actually doing financial wellness, and when we used to go to corporates, the most common answer that we would hear from corporates, and it was in fact actually a natural, because they just didn't know the problems that existed below the surface, was that, look, we are one of the best payers, we give one of the best benefits to our employees, and then I think that's a great place for us to be. And then when we would actually go back and tell them, look, your employees are not financially fit, industry average is 354, your employees are at 290. Say there are companies where it happened. They are shocked. They're like, look, we pay them the highest amount of money. Why are they not fit? Right? This happened in one factory, and I remember it, where they are one of the best payers when it comes to factory workers. They were shocked at the level of financial wellness of their staff. And it was showing in so many different ways. They were asking for hikes, which are very high. They were trying to find jobs where they could cover for the additional expenses that they had. Right. So this problem actually manifests itself in so many different ways. Right, from attrition to productivity to people taking loans from colleagues on the floor. It creates so many problems on the floor. And a lot of times corporates actually just don't understand it, because in their mind they are right. Look, we pay them the best money. Yet, why is this happening? And that's the reason why we have started to see such a groundswell of interest coming from corporates saying, look, I think there's a problem here and we have to fix it. If you don't fix this problem, it will impact us in so many different ways. Right. And typically the answer, which is maybe, you see 32% maybe, is a maybe, because we just are not sure. We can't put a pulse, because the maybe results in things like, look, maybe they are in stress. Can we do something to just help them relieve the stress? Right? Can we do a yoga session? Can we do something else? But that's not going to get relieved with interventions like that. Interventions have to be specific and actionable, right? And with this, I'll move into the next slide. So our colleagues, everyone around us is financially stressed. And it's not just financial stress that actually should bother us, because financial stress is a root cause of many other stresses, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, productivity, attendance at work, right? These are US numbers, and these are a bit dated. The newer numbers actually are worse, right? The impact actually is far more and far greater than that we assumed. And in crisis periods like COVID, the stress levels are going to really go off the charts, because people are worried about the future. Financial wellness is about three things: your past, your present, and your future. In times like COVID, there's literally a lot of times we feel there is no future. So we are stuck in the present. We don't know what to do. Past, the financial mistakes that we made are catching up with us. And it becomes a really tough situation for an individual to get out of, and they cannot get out of it without help. Right? And no wonder we are seeing multiple companies in the US now. Financial wellness is the fastest growing employee benefit, and almost every company that we talk to now wants to do financial wellness. It's very important for them. It's not just their own moral compass, not just their own wellness framework that they have built, but also the fact that now employees also want companies which actually take care of financial wellness, right? And you can look at Mercer doing it, or Aon talking about it. Almost every company we speak to actually wants to get actionable financial wellness delivered to their employees, right? With this, we'll go to the landscape of financial wellness, right? We spoke about why financial wellness is important in corporates. let's see how corporates have been dealing with it till now and what they should change. I'll actually go for the next poll here, poll 5. Poll 4 has come up. Aruna, can we now stop it and just move forward? Yeah. So, not surprisingly, most of you have not actually built a strategy to deal with it, right? And a financial wellness strategic thought process and a wellness thought process is very important as an organization. And it's a very important pillar in your wellness strategy overall. And it doesn't matter how big you are as a company, maybe a 50-member organization or a 50,000 member organization, right? This is at the crux of the relationship between you and your employee associate, right? It's important to develop a long-term strategy to deal with it. COVID has kind of accelerated and exacerbated the situation for all of us, and we need to deal with the situation as soon as possible. Right. With that, I'll actually go into the landscape and try to just move through it. We are all done across 45 minutes now, so we'll just try to move quickly. So how do companies handle it now? What is the current approach, right? The approach today is largely around financial education rather than wellness. And when you say education, it's about a classroom approach where you could have 50 people or 100 people listening to a so-called expert and trying to figure out how they can apply what they heard to their lives. And that has not worked. In fact, if you look at financial education as an intervention in corporates, the results have been very poor. And their life, that's why a lot of HRs are also not comfortable looking at education as a way of financial wellness. It's not. So how do they approach it? They look at internal experts. In cases we have seen CFOs actually saying that I'm the CFO, I know finance, and I'll talk about it, right? Then I'll give personal consultations. Never goes beyond 10 people. If you're 1,000, 10,000 people company or 100 people company, you want a way to really be able to deliver that to everyone. Internal experts have limitations there. Some companies go to independent advisors, right? Who come in, either put up a kiosk or do a classroom session, typically free session, telling that we have about 100 slides, we will take all your folks through it and hope 1% of those folks actually understand what we're talking about, right? Then you have the banks who have the salary accounts, right? And unfortunately, their interest is not to really help improve the financial wellness of the employees. Their interest is to somehow sell something. So they come in and say, look, give us a kiosk, we want to give you a home loan, we want to give you a personal loan, right? It's all product-centric approach. Then you have insurance companies, who come in, and again, very similar product-centric approach, right? Then we have seen companies also go for inefficient structures. Large companies which have built retirement trusts, emergency trusts, medical trusts, right? Because they have a genuine problem. In fact, we had one company HR head call us and ask us, look, we had 2 people pass away, one on the floor, a 30-year-old, one had an accident, and in both cases, whatever we had as benefits were just not sufficient. And our employees are worried, and we want to do something about it. And one of them was, can we do a retirement trust? And we were like, why do you want to become an insurance company or some other company? This is not your, place, right? And this is not something you should do. There are efficient ways of doing it. In fact, we know of a company which has 40,000 people in a retirement, in an emergency fund trust, and they're struggling to manage it. They are a 1 lakh employee company. They are one of our customers. There are 40,000 people in a trust. It's very difficult for them to really manage. There is a genuine problem, but it's very difficult, but building inefficient structures is, makes it more difficult for them to really solve the problem, right? Next, we see no use of technology at all, right? The entire sense, all this approach, the overall approach is about one size fits all, right? But you've seen the financial life examples we spoke about. Everyone's financial life is different. One size doesn't fit all. So you need a way to create personalized experiences for each employee. And the only way to do that is technology. You can't do that with one-on-one individual offline models. So naturally, we have some drawbacks. One of the biggest drawbacks we see with this approach and the way we think is it's a tick box. We want to do something in this space, just let's do something. Number one. Number two, there is no actionable outcome. In fact, we have customers where financial wellness of the entire employee base has shifted by about 30% upwards. And when that happened, the HR, so the organization is saying that the conversations that we have when it comes to compensation is very different now, right? You have to have actionable outcomes, otherwise it's just another exercise. It's a very piecemeal approach, right? Tax season comes, we say, okay, can we get someone to talk about tax? Companies launches NPS, so can we get someone to talk about NPS, right? It's about talking about NPS, making people understand pay slips, helping people understand about PF. These are all very siloed approaches, and they just don't solve the core problem of improving the financial wellness of the individual and the family. A lot of times, people just do not know what the financial wellness approach is. Very limited understanding of that in organizations. We are doing these kind of things to really help improve the awareness. Then budget constraints, a familiar thing that we hear. And finally, I think one of the most important things is this is not part of the KRAs of HR. This is very important. A company, when it wants to be the best employer, the financial wellness of the employee is very important. It's very important to measure how the responses are, if you have improved materially when it comes to financial wellness, right? So these are drawbacks of the current approach in the industry. So how should the new approach be? What should be the financial wellness approach of the future? It has to be ecosystem driven. It's all about universal financial health. You have to establish trust with the employees, right? We have to put people first, product second. It has to be the holistic, full story, not part of the story, right? It has to be open architecture, completely customizable. It should be as if it's a medicine designed for that patient, right? An intervention designed for that employee. It should be so customized. And that's the future of financial wellness. With this, I'll actually put up the 6th poll. We can stop this and move forward, Arna. So as you can see in the results, 80% of the organizations that are on this webinar today have not done any financial awareness or wellness program. Over 20% have done it. That ratio is actually getting inverted right now across the world. And as we speak, and COVID has made it imperative that corporations and companies really, move towards financial wellness. Now, with this, we've covered a lot of ground already. We know why, as an individual, what we need to do to improve the financial wellness. Then we spoke about how, why corporates need to get involved in financial wellness. Then we spoke about the landscape, what they are doing right now, and what they should do. Now let's talk a bit about what we do in ArthaYantra, right? And what we really do is technology-driven financial wellness. The entire agenda in terms of how we look at financial wellness is that we should create scalable financial wellness programs that are comprehensive for their employees, right? Completely driven by technology, right? Each program, if you have 1,000 employees, 1,000 employees should have 1,000 customized wellness programs. It cannot be one program for everyone. And that level of customization we are able to achieve because of a proprietary technology. We do it with a very comprehensive financial health plan, which has measurable action-oriented outcomes, and it covers all aspects of personal finance. The idea is really, again, to first let the employee understand that he has financial stress, then identify the interventions and recommendations that he needs to actually apply so that he can come out of it and become a productive employee. And we do all of it on our platform, which is called Arthos. So if you are a 100,000 employee company or a 50 employee company or a 30 employee company, it doesn't matter. The platform doesn't discriminate. It does its best when it comes to giving recommendations, right? And so what is the difference between us and what typically happens in the industry is completely research-based approach. Our programs are designed for organization customization. For example, if we had a industrial customer who had plants in Hosur, Mysore, and Nalagarh, their requirements were very different. And in an online platform, we are able to really customize it to the organization, then to the employee, right? The industry is all one size fits all, right? Then we actually are all designed to be outcome oriented, measurable and monitorable. So as an organization, how would you like to know every year what is the level of financial wellness and how next 12 months, how it has improved? That actually makes a huge difference in the financial stress levels, right? Then we make, the entire experience employee specific, employee first, right? It's specific for that employee. It's not specific to a product, right? It's all about the employee and the employee's financial life. The products actually don't even feature till the end. And the final thing is that, it's very scalable. We can do it for 100,000 employees. In an offline approach, it just doesn't work. So imagine this, right? What is the chance of you getting a very good advisor in the town of Hosur? Zero. With technology, the employee who's working in Hosur in a plant also can get access to something which is cutting edge yet very personalized and customized for him. That's the advantage of having a technology-driven thought process. That's what we do in ArthaYantra. We have 4 modules. We can speak about it in detail later, but let me just brush on them. So number 1 is a financial health check workshop model, where we do online workshop and worksite workshops, then individual face-to-face, then the implementation of the recommendations and review and tracking. It's a continuous process that we do, and all of this happens online in a secure account for the employee and the employee's family. In addition to this, we do a lot of things. We have tools, activities, additional resources that helps the employees be abreast with what's happening in the their financial life. It's not about teaching them to be finance professors. It's about making them smart enough to take good, solid, objective financial decisions, right? And we do that with custom games. We do that with regular discussions on blogs. We have specified surveys. For example, one of the most common questions we get from our customers is, should I buy or rent a home? Right? In fact, we have a patent pending score which actually tells a person what they should do. And we do a research report on that that comes out every year that very specifically tells our customers what they should be doing, because these are very, very important decisions in their life and very expensive decisions in many cases if taken wrong. Right. And this is how the workshops look. For example, in one of the companies, in a large company, more than 10,000 people, we ended up building a microsite for them and ran the entire financial wellness through the microsite. It had quizzes, it had the actual process that. Hello, can you hear me, guys? Hello?
Yes, you are audible.
Hello? Yeah, I hope you can.
Yes.
Aruna, can we? Yeah, okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
I just had a small mishap. The wire actually came out. But so these are the workshops. And then this is a sample case, and it will give you really kind of wrap up everything for you from that financial journey perspective. So we had this network security manager from an IT major, 27-year-old. And when he came to us, he had a health score of about 322, and those are some of the issues that he had. Right, and over a period of time, now he's almost at 550. Right, his risk management is taken care of. A lot of his goals, for example, he can take care of more goals in a larger scale. So over a period of time, what has happened is that we've actually bringing him close to good, and then hopefully take him to excellent. Right, so his financial health score really is measured regularly to see, okay, is he getting things done? Are the recommendations being followed? Are there interventions that are required? All of it being done by the platform, right? And I'll assure you, when our customers say, look, I have so much liquid assets, and with a click of a button, I can take care of any problem I have, the kind of relief I hear in their voice is quite amazing, right? And these are some of the customers that we service today. We work with some of the biggest companies. We also have a lot of small companies that we work with. And while I have a couple of more poll questions, since most of you have actually not done financial wellness, 80% of you, I'm actually just, not projecting those poll questions for you, because they talk about more KRAs and outcomes and design of financial wellness programs, which in case you're interested to talk to us, we will actually talk anyway, one-on-one. So with this, I'm ending this talk, and I'm happy to take more questions.
Thank you, Nitin. I think there are a couple of questions which Dave would like to pick it up. Dave or Vittal, any one of you.
Yep. Yeah. Nitin, there's a question from Mr. Sanjeev. Okay. What is the modality to check if anyone is adequately insured or not?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question to ask. So one of the common themes that we ask and we find out, the people to be wanting is exactly this question. So how do you know of a company anywhere in the world that scientifically tells you how much insurance you should have, how much life insurance you should have, using proper actuarial thought process? Actually, there is none. One of the things that we do as this process is to really solve that. So we have built actuarial models that look at expense replacement method to tell an individual and the family how much life insurance you need. That's one of the most important questions that actually is unaddressed. Mostly you see regular folks being told, okay, you should buy 5 times salary or something like that, but that's not the right way to do it. There's a scientific way to do it. And you can actually get that done online with us, right? But that's a very important question that is unanswered too many times.
Taking up the next question from Mr. Ashit. In spite of being a better paymaster, how does a company work towards better motivation and financial wellness of their employees?
I think the biggest thing that we have realized when it comes to people like us, it's all, most of us have come from a middle class background, worked hard to get to where we are, right? And one of the most important things that we have realized is that money is one of the most important things that we deal with on an everyday basis. But our education system and our society really doesn't talk about it. There's no one to really help you manage your money. 21, you're out of the school. Your parents have never spoken about money to you. Your education system, even if you're from IIT, doesn't speak about how to manage your money. You get your first paycheck and you're supposed to take care of yourself. It doesn't work like that. Between the age of 21 and 29, we make most of our financial mistakes, right? The question is very pertinent because given that we don't have the underpinnings of financial thought process, being a paymaster doesn't help, right? More pay you give, the more mistakes people make. The only way to really solve this is to really get all your employees together and ensure that their financial wellness levels improve. And when the financial wellness levels improve, their education levels also improve. Naturally, they'll start to make better financial decisions, right? But one thing we all have to realize is that no one has taught us this. No one has told us that we should be doing, managing our money well, right? We work hard for 30 days and once the salary comes, we don't look back at it. Because no one has taught us that's very important, not just for today, but for even 20 years from now. Because your decisions of today will impact you 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. I hope I answered that question. Yeah.
Taking up the next question is from KK Panda. Is the new generation going the Western way of splurging now without having a plan for savings?
Look, it's a complicated question, right? Yes and no. So we see a lot of new generation kids who are very, very ambitious, very clear about what they want to do. In fact, just last week we acquired 2 weeks ago one of the biggest brands in financial services globally. They are a customer now, right? They have about 5,000 employees in India. And initially we got customers who were less than 27, 28 years. And they were so driven. They were very clear. In fact, they were more decisive. This is anecdotal evidence I'm presenting you that you have both sides of the same coin, right? They were very decisive in taking the steps and, doing things, right? While you have people like that, you also have the millennials or Gen X who may be a bit, a bit more open about being able to spend money and thinking about future later, right? But the way, we've seen things, especially when it comes to personal finance and financial wellness, is that life is a great leveler. It creates enough speed breakers for people to realize that they were wrong and then correct their mistakes, right? And our younger generation is smart enough to realize that, I think. And when the time comes, they will actually switch very quickly and be decisive in their actions. And I'm fairly confident about that, right? But that said, there's also a very interesting corollary to it, that a lot of this young generation are influenced by their parents who are actually not really good financial managers, right? So it's a much more complicated question than it seems to be. It's just we can't play it, paint it in one color, saying that younger guys don't appreciate money. It's also a fact that many of them are coming from families where they have money already. Their parents have been working. So it's a socio-economic question. It's just not a simple financial question. It's great that India is growing and people are becoming richer. People have more money. That will pose different challenges to us, and we have to be able to face them.
So we can take one more last question, Deb, and because it's already 18:11, and then whatever questions that is left out to be answered, maybe you answer in back, and then we'll email it to our viewers who are joined us today.
Okay.
One more question, Vittal.
One second. If in case we have missed your questions, you can write. If it's pertaining to your individual financial wellness, you can write it to the mail ID there. Or if you have a query regarding offering these services to your employees also, you can write to the same mail ID. We'll get back to you. And the last question we are taking, recently we had, this is from Mr. Parameshwaran. Recently we had a financial impact with the investments made through mutual fund with Franklin Templeton.
Yes.
What is your say on this?
Oh, it's unfortunate what has happened, right? I think it's very important to understand that making financial decisions is not simple, and it's not about going online and reading something and using a couple of parameters just taking financial decisions. What do I mean by that? With respect to Franklin Templeton, the problem started in one particular category of funds called credit risk funds, right? And a lot of retail customers were sold these funds by distributors, telling that these are funds which will give you great returns because there is credit risk there, right? And so obviously retail customers, not knowing the risk versus reward, just went by one parameter, which was return. The second parameter was the rating of those agencies in some of the websites, right? You know, almost every website had them at 5-star. If you had actually spoken to an expert and someone who has a real philosophy when it comes to investing, in our case in ArthaYantra, we actually never recommended a credit risk because we don't believe in it, because the risk profile of that fund is very different. As a retail customer, you are not trying to make that extra 1% by taking, you know, additional risk which you should not take, right? So to answer the question, it's very important to look for people who have an investment philosophy. You will always see things like Franklin Templeton, whatever happened, happening, right? But that's because they were always open about it. They were credit risk. They never said that they were not taking risks. It's up to the individuals and the people who are selling those products to them to make those risks very clear. Just as a corollary, you know, during the last this crisis period, ArthaYantra may be one of the best performing portfolio companies in India. Right, our worst performing portfolios are -2, -3% for the year. The best performing portfolios are 8% or 9%. I'm not trying to make a sales thing here, but it's very important to understand that designing the right portfolio, using science to suit the portfolio's risk to your risk and your reward, and making scientific calls in terms of how you select and choose the right product is very, very important. It's not easy as it's made to seem by many people who say that with a click you can buy it. No, it's not about that. It's your hard-earned money. Please think 10 times, not one time, before you make financial decisions like that. And ask the right questions. You have to ask questions. And a good advisor will answer all your questions. They'll never shy away from answering questions.
Thank you, Nitin, so much for this valuable input that you've given us today. I'm sure our audience have enlightened with the valuable information that you've given on the financial wellness. It is the need of an hour, considering the crucial time that we all are going through. We all need to manage this in a very strategic manner. And yes, the choices in the future should move from the advice taking from the friends and family to the experts who are the subject matter experts, the one like you. And the choices to the audience are free to approach you. Or whatever choice of experts that they have, they should make a use of it. I'm sure personally I would be in touch with you. Thank you so much for today's session. It was very good. Thank you, Vittal. Thank you, Dave, for the support of handling the question and answers along with Nitin. Thank you so much for having you guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
audience. Please stay tuned with us for tomorrow's webinar. You will witness the webinar from the stalwarts of the industry, like Mr. Tapan Singhal, who is the MD and CEO of Bajaj Allianz General Insurance, and Mr. Murali K, who's a group head insurance from our PG group. Be there with us 5 p.m. same time tomorrow. Take care, have a safe life, and take care of yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you.